First of all, let me thank you for taking a moment just to understand a little bit more about the Sensa pen and where it came from and why I invented it. My name is Boyd Willat, and for many years I worked as an art director in film. And I would have to say that when I would be working on a plan, you know, in the old days we didn't have computers, and we would be drawing and making straight lines. And the first time the idea occurred to me was right then, when I was sitting there grinding these lines together on these plans for the various movies that I worked on. Some of them maybe even you would remember: Ordinary People, Inside Moves, Escape from Alcatraz, that sort of thing. As time went on, I saw my friends, the art directors and the producers of these films, having trouble organizing themselves, and I said, well, you know, you could put a book together to get all that stuff organized. And they said, well, we use this book sort of like this. I said, you know, that's right. That does look like a good idea. That idea came out of, coming out of the film industry, was the Day Runner. So the Day Runner was reasonably successful. In fact, it became an international success and a home brand. And I was looking at, one day I was looking at all of the products that we buy to put into the book, the rings and the papers and things like that, and I realized that we were purchasing hundreds of thousands of pens. And I said, why are we doing that? Why don't we make it, we've got a great special book here, why don't we make a great special pen? And so it was in the back of my mind, from drawing these plans to building the Day Runner, to the idea that we really need a pen. And one day, out of a dream, I had this idea of a pen that would just conform to your fingers perfectly, and it would just float, almost float as you were working. It was obviously the dream of an art director who's doing all these drawings all day long. But in the end, Sensa. That's what came of it, the Sensa pen. Okay, let's take a moment and get right down into some of the details of the design of the pen, because actually it's quite interesting. There's a number of elements that most people wouldn't see on the surface. For example, the grip itself is a new material. It's a form of silicone, and inside this grip is actually a material which is another form of silicone called Alexium. This material allows you to press on it, and then it holds the shape for a few moments, and then slowly it returns to shape. Now what that does is it creates no outward push. So it has no pushback in it. Like typically when you have rubber or sponge, you push down and it pushes back. That's not so. So you can have a completely effortless grip on a pen, and it's quite natural. In fact, if children were to hold it, they would normally kind of pick it up and they would find this natural grip. And older people, of course, if they hold it, they feel the softness and comfort. And maybe if they have some deformity, it makes it easy for them to grip, because obviously it will fit anywhere. And for people who just like comfort, of course, it is very comfortable. But did I really design it for all of those reasons? Those reasons appeared after I actually put the grip together. So the grip then is combined with a way of making the pen point come out. And I chose to put it at the very end rather than doing the whole body of the pen, because I wanted people to be able to use with one hand ergonomically, with one hand to be able to open it and to use it, so they didn't have to include two hands. And so every bit of the industrial design of this pen was very carefully thought out, even to the point of the golden mean. Now, the golden mean is a term that's used in art, but basically all flowers, plants, seashells, things like that follow the golden mean. And it is part of nature's plan. And it's a ratio between the full distance between here and here and a position in the center that then gets repeated and repeated and repeated. And this golden mean appears right at this point right here. And so when I was designing, I said, let's see what happens if we put it at the golden mean, and lo and behold, it fit the anatomy of the hand. So the ergonomics of the hand the anatomy of our bodies were taken into consideration with the Sensa pen, so that if you had an idea in your mind, it could flow effortlessly down through your arm and out onto the paper without any interruption. That's some of the thought that went into the pen, and I hope you enjoy it. Imagine for yourself, like, I call myself an industrial designer or inventor, or I've had a number of different careers, but if you were an industrial designer and someone said, aha, now you can design a pen brand new, what would you put into it? What would you do? Well, that was exactly the consideration for me, because there's certainly a lot of pens in the world, and I don't even think that the world needs another pen. However, when the Sensa pen did come out, it became very popular. And for a number of reasons, not the least of which was the grip, but also because when it was designed, we designed it to put the best of everything that a pen would have. For example, it is weighted. Notice that it has a slight forward weight. So I decided I'll put the balance. I decided to choose it so that the balance would work perfectly, but I also had the opportunity to choose the best refill. In other words, I looked for the best refills that I could find, and at the time, the one the Fisher refill was the one that they used, pressurized, that went on the moon and writes underwater and things like that. And so I said, well, why don't we design this exactly to fit this Fisher refill? At this point, there are a number of refills that are similar to it, but as you can see, this is almost like putting a cartridge in the barrel of a gun. It's been tooled perfectly to fit this refill, and the reason is because this refill does write upside down. It writes underwater. It writes in many different areas, and I figured if you're going to spend a little money on a pen, why not make it so that it'll write everywhere? The other elements that are independent of maybe some interest is the fact that all of this particular model is made of metal parts, not made of plastic parts, and they were milled and designed perfectly so that they would fit the ergonomic mission of the pen itself, including the clip, which was designed so that it was easy to put in your shirt without damaging your shirt. So it had to be a clip that, as you know, sometimes you have clips you have to pull apart, but in this case I wanted it to be strong, but I wanted it to fit beautifully in your shirt.